So, wanna go see Deadpool?
Fuck yeah.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pleasantries. Today, my guests are Scott Steele. You may not know him as Woodrow, and Kenny Wilson. You may not know him as the guy from the Doritos commercial that has the bag of chips that I'm inside of. The topic of today's discussion is the movie Deadpool.
I don't know too much about Deadpool, but I saw that Wolverine Origins movie once. Who watched it more than once? So that's about my knowledge of Deadpool's. But I really enjoyed the movie without knowing anything. That was very easy to enjoy.
I mean, I know comic book stuff, but I don't know really anything about Deadpool. So yeah, my only knowledge was also from X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is like everybody's like, it's not Deadpool. I'm like, well, what is Deadpool? I have no idea. They showed the action figure also, which you missed because you were looking at your phone.
Whoops. I really enjoyed the movie. I used to read a few of the comics, and Deadpool would always break the fourth wall. I was like, oh yeah, this is my sassy type of character, you know, because I'm an edgy teenager.
So there's the DC Comics character Deathstroke, whose real name is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool is just a complete, like, purposeful ripoff. like people will connect different Marvel Comics, DC Comics superheroes as like, oh, which one ripped off of the other one? Mm-hmm. You know, like, these are very similar characters, but Deadpool is like a purposeful, like, yeah, this is Deathstroke. We're just gonna make total fun of it. Whenever they make a new X-Men movie, for some reason I still try to figure out, like, where does this take place, even though there's no point anymore, because like X-Men 1 through 3, Origins Wolverine, First Class, and the other Wolverine, but they were all like, they would all contradict each other every single time, like, oh, this happened at this time, or so and so looked like this, or whatever. And then Days of Future Past just like, then none of that ever happened. Yeah. So I think that's like an excuse for them now, like, to do this actual Deadpool, because technically that Origins Wolverine movie never happened, or most of it. And I think it's funny that they have him in his like actual comic book costume, because the original X-Men movies,
they were all leather clad, instead of the vibrant yellow and blue.
Yeah, like they thought they would look too stupid on screen or whatever. And maybe at the time it kind of would, because like Batman and Robin and stuff like that, like, purposely were like really
nipples.
Yeah, they were really nipples. But I'm glad that now like after like Avengers and Dark Knight and stuff like that they're just like, oh, you can show superhero costumes on screen and it'll look cool. We just have to kind of, you know, make them like texturized or whatever. Yeah. And then Ultrasonic Teenage Wasteland, whatever her name is.
Negasonic.
Yeah. Don't care. She has like a classic like yellow X-Men costume. Yeah. I was like, and I thought Deadpool was gonna address that. I thought he was gonna say something about like, oh, we're doing costumes now or something. One
of the best things that they did was choosing to use the animation in the eyes, and
you
know, it adds to the emotive properties of it. And you know, that's very apparent if you look in the comics. Like, he's always got, you know, he's cracking that kind of face. It would be important to have that, otherwise, you know, it's just Ryan Reynolds. And
it added so much to the movie just to be able to have like eyebrow motion.
Yeah.
So much. Everything was so much more funny because of just that small little detail.
It wasn't like a linear A-B Origins. It didn't start super serious and then ramp up.
I mean, of course, there's going to be a bunch of just like pop culture references and references to things that have to do with Ryan Reynolds or with the superhero movies and stuff like that. I liked when they're like, we're taking you to Professor, and he's like, McAvoy or Stewart.
Yeah. he would make a lot of 90s callbacks. Mm-hmm. That was, you know, that was a time where Deadpool was very big, and so making a lot of those like Sinead O'Connor references to Negasonic was just spot on and hilarious.
Oh, Ripley from Alien 3. There's been so much controversy online about like how the movie's rated R and it's not meant for kids, and how they should make a PG-13 version for children or something. And I was like, I'm watching the movie now. You couldn't make the same movie. You and I both, when the guy like gets his head chopped off by the chain and then his body like smashes into the street sign, we're both like, oh jeez! You couldn't just replace that with something else for like the kid version or whatever. It's part of the like X-Men cinematic universe that's now kind of being created. So like, if you were gonna do like a binge watching the whole thing kind of thing, you'd have to include Deadpool as part of that. And if you're just like, kids gather around, now leave the room for this one and then come back later.
I think that it'll be interesting to see where it progresses from here when they bring in Cable, because he's, you know, He is, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but I believe he's Cyclops' son from the future. So that ties into from the X-Men universe.
Okay.
On top of that, they kept talking about, trying to get him to join the X-Men. But I think that probably what I suspect is it'll just be the running gag of him never actually joining and staying just out of it.
There's a giant house. There's only 2 of you.
Yeah.
If they did have the ability, like if the Marvel Studios movies had the ability to have Wolverine in the Avengers, or now they can have Spider-Man or whatever, but it might be like overkill. Like it might be too much. Like they've built up Iron Man and Thor and Captain America and people that no one really cared about as much as like the bigger names. I mean, the Hulk is pretty famous, I guess, but if they had access to all the other ones, they probably never would have done that. It probably would have just been, let's make another Spider-Man movie again and again and again until we're all dead. It
was very gratuitous, but it still worked because there were a lot of moments like, when the truck was rolling, it's, started going really slow, and you'd see all the little individual things that he's like giving the dude a wedgie.
Yeah, and just showing all the names of like directed by some douchebag or something.
And then as soon as it
dull
rolls,
to those words that I didn't notice them. And
people
were laughing. I was like, what are they laughing?
And as soon as it goes out of the credits, it's just violence, just right into it, and you're like, holy crap, what the hell did I just see? And that just sets the tone for the movie.
The only problem I had with that eventually was that I felt like it kind of like blew its load early with that first highway fight, and then like the ending fight was not as interesting, I guess. I still really enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I felt like that after I left, I was like, oh, the ending was kind of like a little bit anticlimactic, I guess.
But I think he fell into that Marvel villain trope of, pretty like one-sided.
Yeah.
But I like that they played into that still, like made fun of it.
A British villain.
And later in the movie, you start to see that he's actually bothered by what Deadpool's saying. He's saying like, oh yeah, you don't have any feelings. Like, whatever, Francis. And you see that it actually is bugging him.
When Colossus starts talking about like being a hero, like I was like, he's gonna shoot him anyway. Like I know this immediately.
He kind of like acts like a gamer towards being Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like he's like missing, he's like, fuck, shit, fuck, god damn it.
Do you guys think that it was smart to cast Ryan Reynolds again as the same character, or do you think they should have gone with a different person than they did, like, who fucked it up the first time?
There's no one you could have had for that role other than Ryan Reynolds. Like,
I guess.
But I mean, he's the one that actually pushed this film to what it is. Even in the origins, the Wolverine origins, his part as Deadpool was awesome. At the end, that they had a different actor and they changed everything about it. He wasn't even there for that, and they did some CG stuff to make it, but it's not him.
Computer generated stuff.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I don't know. I can't even think of an actor now that would have played him.
Yeah, and I guess it wouldn't have worked with if he's doing all the inside jokes about like last time when they did this thing to me.
I love the mask under a mask with the
Morena Baccarin, is that how you pronounce her name? I don't know. She plays the girlfriend.
She was in Firefly.
Yeah, she's in Firefly. She's also the voice of Black Canary on Justice League. I thought that was cool that they cast her and that like she's already rooted in like sci-fi superhero-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that it wrapped up the movie as just like its own movie. Because that's my least favorite thing about like experience going to superhero movies now is just that you expect like it's gonna be like a kind of to be continued like loose ending. It's like, oh, neat little this is the Deadpool movie, and that's
if for some reason they didn't end up making a sequel, it would be fine by itself.
What do you guys think about Stan Lee? He's talked about like he would like to see a Avengers Star Wars crossover movie at some point.
What?
Yeah, just because they're both
Thanks,
owned by Disney.
That would be. I feel like that'd be incredibly hard to pull off and probably not practical.
I think it would be really dumb, and like people would just hate it forever. Like they would just talk about like, oh shit, when they made that Avengers
like the Star Wars
crossover.
special.
Yeah. Because I mean, like you probably would get most of the Avengers actors like completely against it. They would just be like, no, I'm not doing that. So then you just wind up with like a CGI Hulk that no one has to actually be there for.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, CGI Ant-Man.
Just being voiced over.
Yeah, like in that Coke commercial.
I liked T.J. Miller's Weasel.
Just the way he delivers the line.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good.
Well, I think that the flaws are very minor, and when you go to a superhero movie, you kind of take those at face value, and it's fun. And I think Deadpool, really ran with that, and so I think I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, if I were to compare it to just other superhero movies and think of it, as a superhero movie, what kind of score to get? Definitely at least a 9 because it had a decent pacing in my mind, really funny. Plot wasn't just like super cliche.
And it wasn't like every other superhero movie, just explosions, lasers, or punching each other in the dick. And there was some dick.
There was a lot of dick punching.
Too much maybe of Ryan Reynolds' ass. It's hard to get too much, but it was a lot of Ryan Reynolds' ass.
I'll give it an 8 just because I'm just going to be as cynical as possible about it, but I still really liked it. And 10 is like best movie ever made, so that's still pretty high.
Average score.
Average score.
Average score.
So that's it for today's episode of Pleasantries. As usual, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at JTSEnt. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
I don't like this. You have a fantastic evening.
Wow, are you serious? That was pretty good!
Wait, wasn't it my right arm?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's your right arm?
This is your
Oh
right
my god,
arm.
I'm an idiot.
Wasn't it my right arm? The one over here.